3 p.m. Roll call. Board of Trustees for attendance.
Okay, Janet Kress is absent today. Howard Haggard.
Yes.
Diane Gordon.
Here.
Todd McDaniel.
Here.
Chad Sargent.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Recognition of guests. We've got a room full of guests today. Thank you for being here. Public comment. We have a couple of comments. Oh, okay. We have 3 people for public comments.
Is that 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Okay, I'll run
We have
the
a timer.
I can run that for you.
They've all acknowledged that they understand the public speaking ordinance.
And I have copies.
Okay, yep. Okay, we're all good. All right, Shelley Copeland, is that you?
Am I? Oh.
You're up.
Okay, so Janet apologizes for not being able to be here today. She had, her nephew is having emergency surgery, but she wanted to give a report on the eclipse, and I'm gonna do that on her behalf, if that's okay. You guys have some flyers in front of you. Janet has been working with the McCurtain County Tourism Authority. Those flyers are meant to be distributed to cabins, tourists, residents, and short-term rentals. It is some safety information about how to watch the eclipse. She's also been surveying the cabin bookings for the eclipse. It looks like people are not really coming from Texas, but they are coming from many other states. We're at about 80% occupancy right now, so it's moving quite well. Another one of the documents in front of you is the placement of the porta-johns you guys approved at the last meeting. Janet's been focused on putting those in public areas. That form outlines a list of their placement that is a work in progress. Looks like they go from North Hochatown to south, from about Creekside RV Park to Whippoorwill. And there's a few other things that you may already know, but for the sake of our new town administrator, I thought we would just run over them real quickly. DEQ has said that they're going to send 12 officers to assist. Cody McDaniels with the McCurtain County Emergency Management Team mentioned that the 63rd National Guard Unit may be training in our area during the event, and if so, they will be available if an emergency arises. Responders coming in to help would be housed at either the Broken Bow School facility or a tent city that may be set up in Idabel. And a command trailer will be deployed. It will provide a public information group, a traffic group, and a law enforcement group. Also, there will be 4 satellite sites, helicopter stations, Millerton, Harris, Bethel Triangle, and the US 70 East site, that's at Peavy Crossing. They will facilitate the movement of emergency service travel in the surrounding areas. The hospital had originally said they were going to try to set up in the church. Now we're being told that insurance will not allow it. So they are saying that additional staff will be at the emergency care facility in Hochatown. And then Scott Hampton with Oklahoma Highway Patrol says they'll be sending 60 extra troopers, 8 to 10 motorcycle mounted troopers. Airplane and a helicopter will be available. There will be command headquarters in Hugo and McCurtain County, and their major focus will be locals first and to restore normal traffic flow, hopefully within 24 hours.
My timer's on.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments, Shelley. Speaker number 2, Janet Abernathy.
Oh, actually, I'm not ready to speak. I'm sorry. I thought that was just if you wanted to speak after you presented something, item number 15. I'm sorry.
So you don't want to say anything? Okay.
If you want to speak on item 15, the only opportunity to do it is
Okay,
at the beginning.
I'll
So,
Pass? Okay. Okay, Janet passes. Karen Queener, agenda item 15.
Same.
Okay.
You guys understand that you can't speak on it even after we talk about it, like this is the only opportunity. Okay. Unless you come to us individually after the meeting, of course.
Okay, let's go back. Okay, consent docket, item number 5, the following items are considered routine.
Excuse me. I had a request, I wanted to speak
Really?
on item 15, yeah.
Okay, you didn't put that you wanted to speak.
Yeah,
No? Blank, it says your name, but it doesn't say that you want to speak. Would you like to
it
change?
says, no, it says yes in item 15.
No. Rustin Wheeler. I have nothing that you want to
Oh,
speak.
I wrote yes in 15 on Shelley Copeland, my apologies.
Would you like to? You ready? Come on.
Yes,
come on.
yes.
Fix
I
it.
just-
Oh,
like to-
which explains why I was speaking.
Shelley, thank you, Rustin.
Sorry about that.
Okay, all right, so, well, you have to put your signature on. You read the rules. You got 2 minutes.
I signed for Shelley, my fault.
Shelley did a great job.
Well, thank you. I was not quite prepared to go that quickly, but
Passed, okay.
Julie, were there any more
Sticker
chairs?
number 2.
There's some more there.
Alright. Just so we're working on minutes.
Okay, I just really,
Liz, are you ready with your primer? Okay, go ahead, Rustin.
with regard to the new procedures that are going toward the short-term rentals, my questions
Okay,
are,
hang on. I've got you down for agenda item number 15.
ordinance 6.
So you want to do ordinance 6?
Yeah, agenda item 15 is ordinance 6 with the short-term rentals.
Yes, it is.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, I paused you, you're good.
Thank you. So I'm just curious about the application process, really the whole item, what that's gonna look like for management companies and individual property owners. What the waiver of initial registration fees is gonna be, is that like a grandfathered in situation? And the severability clause, what that's gonna look like, and any publication that's gonna go along with that.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay?
And just so everyone knows, the board is not allowed to respond to questions during that time, but when they come to agenda item number 15, they'll be able to answer those questions at that time.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready for the consent docket? Are you caught up on that? Okay, the following items are considered routine by the Board of Trustees and will be enacted with one motion. Discussion desired on any item, that item will be removed from the consent docket and considered separately. We have the approval of the February 7th, 2024 regular meeting minutes and approval of the payment of claims. Is there any discussion on the consent docket?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Wait, hang on.
You're good. I was just making sure we had a note taker.
Yep. Okay, yeah, we did.
In person.
Yes.
He's here, he's here.
Okay. Everybody good with discussion?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
By Todd. Roll call vote for the consent docket?
Janet Chris is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Item number 6, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding items removed from the consent docket. Having none. Item number 7, treasurer's report. Discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone's got the profit and loss for February. It's a total of ACH payments, $18,849.53. Total of checks still received, $102,333.74. So we collected in the lodging tax total of $121,183.27. We had 15/20/75, that's 1,520, and 75 cents for cigarette tax. Sales tax is $327,462.28. And then our use tax was $5,066.37. So our total income, $455,232.67. Our total expenses, amounts that we paid out last month, was $41,903.25. So net profit of $413,329.42. The I thought I had printed out our balance sheet, but I did not. I got you just a short version of the profit and loss statement, but our balance sheet is pretty simple. It's our bank account balance at the end of last month. The number is I'm going to say approximately $2,800,000. Bills due $41,903.25. So our balance sheet looks like it's going to be $2,750,000 plus or minus. So that I can get. I thought I had a copy of it. Well, the bank statement, unfortunately, it ends in February 15th. So, you know, we would know.
We may have to report on 45 days in arrears to give our treasurer time to get the numbers in. Okay.
That's all I have.
Any further discussion?
Oh, that's it.
That's just what I put together from everybody's thing. And the numbers are about right. Here's what's currently as of that date.
Okay. Any more discussion on treasurer's report?
No. Make a motion to accept treasurer's report.
Todd, are you still in discussion?
Yeah, no.
Okay, okay. Okay, all right. Okay, we have a motion by Howard. Do we have, we need a second for the treasurer's report?
I'll second it.
Todd? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Janet Kress is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Okay, item number 8, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve an amendment to the estimate of needs budget. Howard, are you gonna take this one?
I guess so. You should have a copy of it in your, on the second page, right down at the bottom, in the right-hand lane, or right-hand column, that's 701, not right, it was 791, but anyway, after the amended this time, we're up to 1.8 of adjusted income available to spend.
Okay.
So, just need to get this certified and get to the state. Access board. For that. We just got some more money to make sure we wasn't overspending our budget.
I make a motion we approve the amendment to the estimated needs budget.
Todd, we have a motion by Todd. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
By Chad. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, Janet Kress is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
We'll be grown up soon and we'll be past the estimate of needs changes when we get real annual budgets. So we're getting there. Okay, agenda item number 9, discussion only regarding the monthly update from Brian Services.
Mayor, Trustees, thank you. Before I even get started, I think there's a really important item that goes under this item, and that is the town's hiring of a new town administrator. So Mr. Adam Lawson's right here, and I think, why don't you introduce yourself and say a few words or whatever you want.
Your business, that's okay.
Well, it's been a long time coming. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited here to work with the board to get the community what they need. I'm excited to get to know each and every single one of you. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll make it my focus to go by and visit every business in town. I will try as much as possible in no order. I'm sorry I haven't been out there in the public yet. It's been it's been like drinking from a fire hose lately. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to get to work. And if you guys ever need anything, please reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we'll move on to the report from Avenue. You shall receive that. It is a work in progress. The good news is the system for all the cabin owners is going live very shortly. And what I mean by that is it really is going through some testing right now. It should be fully ready by Friday, but we're going to do some demos, some final checks from our end and your end before we make it live. So hopefully next week it will go live which will make everyone's life easier. For the cabin owners, there's going to be, their information doesn't have to be re-entered each time. They can look up records, they can look up payments. So it is an interactive system. To that, in your Avenue update, they have been sending out discovery letters to cabin owners when they're 100% sure who owns a cabin. They will receive one. They have a large list of cabin owners, but they're vetting them out. So through the update from this, probably about 3 or 4 days ago, approximately 517 discovery letters went out for processing. Another 300 should be out by tomorrow. So that is ongoing, and so I know we received some questions about those. Some people have received more than one if they have more than one cabin. Each discovery letter has an account number on it, so that's why they're getting multiple. Other than that, the payments are still ongoing for the current portal. Again, some cabin owners are sending checks to the town, some are doing it online. Those should both go away, we hope, completely, because they can be done online 100%. Again, we will keep you updated on the go live date. That's why item number 15 is on here today, which is the short-term rental ordinance that was brought up in public comment. We will discuss that when that item comes up, and you have some final questions and decisions to make on that and get everybody comfortable with it. Other than that, we've been fielding emails and calls on other questions. Some of it has to do with the actual platforms. Have they collected our funds? Have they sent this? And so we're responding to those on a daily basis. Those are ongoing. Majority of our efforts have been really focused on getting the system, which is the cause of the most of pain here, because it's new to get it online. And I will say this, and again I will address it in item 15. The ordinance for the lodging tax and sales tax would affect May 1st, right, Liz? May 1st, 2023. Not everyone has submitted their payments, and there are penalties, there are fees, and those records, as soon as the system goes online, there's going to be an audit process in place. And so I would recommend everybody looks at whether they made those payments, they have questions. We have a number for Avenue, they'll field those, give them information. And so that's where we are at with the update. So, Mayor, thank you, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to address them. But we will get into the SDR on item 15. So,
well, Mayor's been doing a fabulous job of helping us monitor that water hose that we've been drinking out of. Adam came on board, so we can't thank him and his team enough for helping us, and they're still helping us. So after that discussion only, we do move to item number 10, which is the discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding extending the writing services agreement through June 30th. You want to speak to that?
yes, ma'am. I would recommend no action on this since we have a new town administrator. As we work through this month, we're good through the end of the month. You can address it at a future date. There's no reason to do anything at this time.
We didn't know when we'd have somebody on board, so we've kind of made that a routine agenda item. So I think we're good to go.
So, Mayor, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
As far as notifying, Avenue's approach towards notifying every single cabin owner, prior, up until this point of.
Can we move that to the item on?
Which one?
Can we move that to the item on
15.
item
Yeah,
number 15?
yeah, well,
Okay.
We'll put it all in the same.
Yes,
You good with that? Okay. Anything else on the Ryan Consulting Group?
We need a motion.
Make a motion to take no action.
We're done with, we're done with discussion. We have a motion to take no action.
I second it.
Motion by Chad, second by Todd. Roll call vote to take no action.
Janet Kress is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Take no action. Item number 11, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the approval of purchase and/or lease agreements for town phones, computers, printers, and necessary office equipment, accessories, and supplies not to exceed $30,000. Howard, you want to lead that discussion?
What prompted this was, of course, our new city administrator coming on board, and we knew all along, in months past, sooner or later, this is coming up. Adam's first request was a town phone for day one. Understandable. So we made that possible happen, knowing computers, desktops, printers, everything else is coming. So we just wanna get approval from the board so we can start that process of getting everything set up so we can have a decent office to work from.
Howard, my only legal comment on that is any of those that require contracts, I need to look at them to make sure that they're not more than a year. And that we have appropriations, the appropriate appropriations clauses in there. Adam and I talked about that earlier as well,
Okay.
so if there's any of that we're gonna lease or the phones are more than a year, I just need to look at those and help get them adjusted.
Okay.
David.
I'll get with you.
Okay.
Anything else?
The only thing I would add is that I think all trustees should get a phone to do town business on. We're not doing town business on our private phones in case we ever in a situation where our stuff's getting suspended or anything like that.
Absolutely.
It's a good idea, I think.
What is, what's your idea on location of this equipment, supplies, what have you? Are we looking at just having a temporary zone for that, or?
We can
Well-
As far as where he's gonna be setting up?
right here.
So, yeah, it'll be right here. We don't have anything finalized yet. We're still kind of in a rough draft era of planning out where everyone's gonna be, what station, what needs to be stationed where we need to run a phone line. So we're going back and forth on that. I don't anticipate our expenditures to be anywhere close to $30,000, but I think this is just kind of a blanket. Again, I'm gonna be pinching pennies as much as possible, and we'll make do with what we have to. I just need the bare minimal essentials first, and then as we continue to grow, as other departments are needed for this community, we'll continue to expand. And obviously, I'll work with you and make sure we've got the blessings first before we move forward.
That's good.
We can also look at some of the refurbished
Yeah.
pieces
Mm-hmm.
and stuff that.
And to further explain what we have done, and we talked to Liz and talked to Crawford to make sure that we could do this legally. We wasn't jumping ahead of us yet, but to get him a phone on board first day one,
And have some.
I had to go, went to Texarkana a week ago Monday, put it on my credit card to get the 3 phones. Bought the accessories to go with it, chargers, backup batteries, protective covers, all of that. So there is 3 phones floating. He's got one, Diane's got one. The other one, we're trying to get FirstNet set up on them, so they can communicate with, emergency management through the Eclipse and any other times. But that's ongoing. Those charges, we haven't seen it yet, but it was explained to me it was gonna be roughly $100 a month for the 3 phones. Now, on top of that, depending on long distance charges that come in on that.
Right.
But should be roughly $100 a month for those 3 phones.
Any more discussion on computers and technology? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the purchase and or lease agreements for town phones, computers, and necessary equipment?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Todd, did you make a motion?
Yes.
Todd, second by Chad. Roll call vote, please.
Janet Kress is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Item number 12, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the purchase of 2 3,000-gallon pumper tanker fire trucks to be used by the Hochatown Volunteer Fire Department not to exceed $150,000. If you
Want
want
me to take the lead?
Yeah.
This was your item.
This is mine. Trying to get the town, community involved to help everyone. A couple of weeks ago, I was invited to attend a meeting at the fire department with Amy Miller, who is the, help me out, Chad. ISO grader, is that the right terminology? Anyway, to try to help everybody, try to get our insurance down, that everybody wants lower insurance, to help out the community, not only Hochatown, but the entire fire district. Bottom line, after 3 hours of meetings, 1 of 2 things has gotta happen. We gotta have more fire plugs, which we know that's not gonna happen. The other thing is water on wheels, get a couple more tanker trucks in here, pumpers, tankers. She made the statement that I believe if you can get 1 more 3,000-gallon tanker in here, we can go from an 8B down to a 7. If you can get 2 in here, I think we can get you down to a 6. That's estimated to be about a 25 to 30% savings on fire insurance. That was her estimate. Of course, that's gotta be worked out, ain't gonna happen overnight, but I think it's time for the town of Hochatown to step up, start helping out. This was my recommendation that we do this, so.
From a legal.
There's details that we have to work out from a legal standpoint, whether insurance, who is the ownership of them, who takes care of them, who maintains them. All of that is yet to be worked out through with the fire department and or the county and or the commissioners. So there's a lot of details I think that are ahead of us to go. And with Adam on board, he's very familiar with fire and fire trucks and anyway.
We'll have to change our evaluation criteria to a whole water criteria.
Yeah. Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we're working on.
I'm going to suggest, now that that's said, we can discuss it. Anybody got anything to say about it or on the board?
So the ISO rating, potential ISO rating improving, is that something we can get in writing, or is that just something that we're hoping will happen?
They can tell you maybe, they can't guarantee you anything until they actually grade your department. They can just kind of give you some parameters to follow, but bottom line is on this item I would recommend we just kind of table it for right now. We still, Howard and I, with Howard spearheading this, we've got a little bit more meetings to attend and we need to kind of do some more investigating. And we need to work with Liz on a couple of things here, but bottom line, we're working to lower our ISO rating as much as possible. We'll be working through our fire department here and just trying to get that fitted with whatever they need, and we'll just kind of do an assessment there. And we'll just kind of go from
That has
there.
been one of our primary goals since the day one that we started, improving roads, improving the fire protection status. But we're not quite there today because again, what is to be used mean by, we've got some
Make
legal
sure
work
we do it all legally
that
and
has to
above
be
board.
done.
Yeah, so
And everybody understands.
Howard and I are working on getting a meeting established with our rural fire coordinator, Luke, and then also a good friend of mine is a great man, Ray Bringer. He's a rural fire coordinator chairman. So hopefully we can all get together and we'll have a little power on the fire department and we'll just kind of see what we can do from there.
Great. Sounds good.
I think we should just take no action, which we don't vote on.
So
Take no
that
action.
said, I would like to make a motion, we take no action at this time.
A second.
We don't actually take vote on no action. Where's my Robert's Rules of Order?
There's a motion on the table, so.
To take no action.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I mean, just since you did a motion a second, might as well, roll call vote.
Okay,
It doesn't-
all right, okay. So we have a motion by Howard, a second to take no action by Chad. Okay, roll call vote to take no action.
Howard Haggard,
yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, motion
Janet Chris absent.
Janet Chris absent, I'm sorry.
Okay, we're gonna have a discussion only on zoning ordinances. We worked hard on that. People worked hard on the zoning committee. All right,
Mayor, do you want me to give a brief overview?
yeah, I think let's call Julie up here. Julie Ford has worked really hard. Why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about where we are with the zoning?
So, the planning commission has, done a lot of work over the past 6 months or so, and looking at the town and looking at getting the initial zoning in place. Zoning is basically dividing the town into districts, and then each district has its own set of regulations related to what type of land uses can be done in the district, what the front, side, and rear yard setbacks are, all those types of things. The commission is very focused on the initial zoning designation for properties in the town limits to, as much as possible, to be consistent with what's on the ground already. The main districts that are in the draft ordinance that the commission is working on are agricultural, single family 1 acre lot or larger, single family half acre lot or larger. You've got Choctaw Trust designation because the regulations won't apply to them public facilities, which is for government facilities, retail, commercial, light industrial, and heavy industrial. And so you've got, there's a chart that shows for each of those districts what uses are allowed and what uses are not allowed. And then there are some uses where if someone wants to do those, they can apply for what's called a conditional use permit. And conditional use permits are where, you know, this may be okay sometimes, we just can't say as a general rule it's gonna be okay all the time. So if someone wants to do that, they can come apply for a conditional permit to try to get the permission to be able to do that particular use. The other things that are in here include screening standards, parking, loading, and stacking standards for vehicles, landscaping and tree reservation, a section on sensitive borders, that there's a little bit more of a buffer between residential and a higher intensity non-residential use. So those general regulations are in there. I think the commission's getting close to having a recommendation for you all. I think the thing to keep in mind is this will be a starting point once it's adopted. People will have new ideas, new uses will come up, whatever it is, and it can be amended and adjusted as the town needs to change the document over time. But that's the general concept. Happy to answer any specific questions.
It's been a while since I was at the initial meeting, but have you got a scaled map yet on potentially where some of these will be, or is it have we got that far?
Well, we have the paper map that we were writing the notes on of what's already existing. Mayor and I actually talked about this earlier this morning, that Garver has GIS mapping capabilities, and that we're going to most likely need them, or if there's someone else Adam would recommend, to create the digital electronic map with the more precise values.
Okay, great.
So Jay, what about grandfathering in what's already here? Is everything that's here, auto grandfathered, or if there are things that are like shaky and maybe aren't gonna meet fire codes or something like that? I mean, how does grandfathering work?
If it lawfully exists right now, then it is grandfathered. If you're already illegal, then adopting this ordinance does not make you legal.
Okay, gotcha.
Julie, if you don't mind, I can add some additional information. This is really important because you're getting some really negative uses starting to look here for the town, and so this is just getting in place. You have a new expert here that is really experienced with it. It's your town administrator, so you can probably foresee some more changes in the future, like overlay districts or additional, protecting the highway corridor. To that point, you become a non-conforming use. You want to minimize that, and I think Julie spent a lot of time meeting with everybody to minimize non-conforming uses with this first ordinance. There's a comprehensive plan where eventually you as a trustee will sit down and what's your vision? What does Hochatown look like when it's done building, right? And then and that's not a zoning ordinance, but that feeds into the zoning decisions you make and what classifications you create. But think of the worst kind of uses that you could think of. Today, there's nothing stopping you. You have nothing in place. So that's really the first important step to get something going. You'll have chances to amend that. What the question I just heard really is more geared, Helen, I think you asked, more geared towards code enforcement. Those things are really, so those all go together and fit together, but you need something on the books pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, before it gets
Out of control.
I think it's really close. I mean, they've worked hard, that committee has worked hard over the last several months, and we said, we're just not quite ready today, but we wanted to at least just get the word out that it's getting close.
Well, there'll be, if you are more familiar with the requirements than me, there'll be a public meeting and
Yes,
hearing.
there will
It's not
be.
just, it's a little different than a traditional ordinance. Zoning has a whole process that has a lot of public involvement before it passes from the commission to
the trustees.
Yeah, once the work session type work is done, there'll be notices, public hearings, all of that before actual votes.
It's really interesting because on the surface, most people when they hear zoning, they just view it as a negative until somebody puts a junkyard next to their cabin. And there's nothing you can do about it, right?
Right.
They say, you need to fix this, and you don't have those tools to fix it, right? Or stop it. So zoning is really important for protecting the values, the quality of life for the owners and the residents. And when you start digging into the reasoning behind it, everybody usually pretty supportive because they want to protect their investment, they want to protect the quality of life. So it's pretty critical.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Sure.
A lot of work, thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any more discussion on PNC committee?
I think 14 is probably a Julie thing too.
I think they're looking at maybe March 22nd or something.
End of the month.
Yeah.
14, you wanna just jump
So
right
that's
there?
as Mayor just said, a comprehensive plan goes hand in hand with the zoning ordinance. And Adam and I talked about this yesterday. There needs to be a basic comprehensive place, up front, but then there's still a lot of work to do to add things and make the plan more robust, transportation plan, parks plan, all those types of things for what do you want it to look like in the future. There's still a lot of that work to be done, but again, we're trying to at least get a base in line so you can have a starting point and then keep moving forward.
Do you mind if I speak on that a little bit? Okay. Yeah, to add to what Julia had just spoken on, I would eventually like to recommend to the board that we initiate an RFP to receive proposals for professional comprehensive planning services. So these would be firms that are certified through the American Institute of Certified Planners. These firms would come out and they would meet with us. They would host a series of public meetings. For example, I did an RFP for my previous community. We had 2 submittals. One was $300,000, which was way outside our scope. And then the other proposal was $520,000 after all the add-ins. And you can get extremely in-depth with public engagement. So they come out and they have a standard of series of meetings, monthly meetings, quarterly meetings. You can have all the way down to weekly meetings if you want to. You can have special surveys that where you have folks going up and down town, sending out surveys to collect information from the public. The whole idea behind a comprehensive plan is to get the public engaged as much as possible throughout the process while we're building out what we envision for our community together. So
It's great.
What do we want our town to be?
Exactly.
yeah.
Super cute.
So yeah, just to kind of summarize, get something in place for now, and then we'll go fishing for professional planning services later on, and then we want to focus on getting as much public input and engagement as possible.
Okay, item number 15, discussion, consideration, and possible action to adoption of ordinance number 6 and ordinance of the mayor and the board of trustees of the town of Hochatown, Oklahoma, amending Title 4 business and license regulations by adding Chapter 6 short-term rental, providing for definitions, providing for the requirement of a license, providing for an application process, providing for a short-term rental registration and annual license fees, providing for a self-certification process, providing for operator responsibilities, providing for revocation, providing for waiver of initial registration fee, providing for a penalty, providing a severability clause, and providing for publication and effective date.
And everybody should have a paper clipped copy. That is the version to reference for this discussion.
I don't have one. Is this the executable one?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor, Council, Trustees, first I want to thank everybody that's been working on this, Liz, Julie, the whole team. We've been trying to get to a short-term rental ordinance, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all those questions during this discussion that is ready, so when the new system goes online, it's very transparent what's expected, what the registration means, what the deliverables are, what the self-certification is. And so that's why it's important to get this passed in front. But there's still some things we can discuss in here. Obviously, it's up to the trustees. And I'll go through this really fast. There's not much change from the last time we discussed, but we're trying to, the language, make it as clear as possible. The basic, the big point I think is always asked is the fees, the registration fees. And what the recommendation is, and obviously it's up to you all, is there's two components to it. One is the initial registration fee of $300, any new cabins built, and existing cabins, any cabins sold. What was proposed is that fee is waived for registration by July 1st, as long as that cabin owner is up to date and not past due on any lodging taxes for that cabin. So as long as those two conditions are met, if they register by July 1st at the latest, and that they're up to date on their taxes, that will be waived. Moving forward, so if it goes a new cabin, the cabin is sold, that will still apply. But as long as it's done by July 1st. The other part of that is the annual registration fee. That's July 1st, that matches the city's fiscal year. It's $225, and again, up to you. That will cover the actual fees that are charged to administer the program. And in the future we see inspections, but that is not currently in the ordinance. I think everybody wants to have safe cabins and a good experience for those that are here. And so that's the really major part.
The $225 essentially is just covers the cost of us to use Avenue. It's not, there's no profit to the town on that at all, and frankly probably a loss until we have
my guess is that'd be
members on board.
the initial fee. So again, I want to just take a step back for a moment. The instructions from you all was keep it simple and make it favorable to have cabins here, and some of the short-term ordinances around the country that we sent as examples were fairly thick, a lot of rules and regulations. You have been removing things instead of adding them, again, to your goal of making it as simple as possible and not to deter short-term rentals in Hochatown. So that was the goal. So overall scheme of things, government is a pretty narrow, thin document. And so there's the definitions in there. I'm going to go through this quickly, a lot of questions. The registration, when they go online, the Avenue system will retain information. So unlike now, things do not have to be re-entered, that people can look up the payments, see where they are at. Again, needless to say, there is a lodging tax in place the trustees passed since last May. And there are fees and penalties if it's not up to date. So we would encourage everybody to check, make sure they're up to date, and meet the current ordinance that's in place. The fees, again, I won't go over those, I just discussed them. There is a late fee for every month of $50. Again, that's at your pleasure. If they do not register or renew the amount every year. There is self-certification today because the town does not have a large staff. One right here. We will not be going on site to do inspections, but there is a legal self-certification that they meet the guidelines of the registration, and that that is something that they must do. But again, back to the instructions to the trustees. Look, get online, register it. It's a simple process, and self-certify that you meet the guidelines of having a short-term rental in Hochatown. Operator responsibilities, you have it in front of you. The emergency contact, all the common sense things, again, with the goal of keeping it simple and non-bureaucratic for the owners. And that's really the very high-level version of a very few pages. So we'll take questions, discussion, anything we can help answer for you so that we get to a place where you make a decision. To me, the critical component, we're estimating next week the Avenue system goes live. All payments will be done on there. The records will be done on there. There's going to be a very large education process in place, including webinars, including in-person meetings, social media.
We also have a helpline that any of the users can call if you're like, I'm not sure where to go, I'm not sure how to use it. You're not going to have to wait for somebody from Hochatown to respond by email. They're going to have a 24/7 phone call to help people navigate that, which is worth a lot of money just for that service alone.
Phone call, email, they'll be there to support you. We received some questions of why doesn't Airbnb or VRBO collect it, because they really don't keep a good record keeping. I've had contacts in the last month or so who said, well, you know, VRBO's been paying it, so no, we've never received a check from VRBO, ever.
We have.
So ultimately, it's the owner's responsibility, and to pay directly to the town of Hochatown through Avenue. So without stopping, I'll take any questions you may have. And I don't know if we answered the question you had earlier.
Well, this might be a Liz question, but in the event that someone doesn't, let's say they're late.
On their taxes?
Yes.
Okay.
And let's say they push 4 or 5 months, will that $50 just continue to incur the whole year?
So
Or is there a
the
point?
taxes have a separate penalty and interest. This is the registration, so if they don't
That's what I'm saying.
register.
I'm talking about the
Yeah,
registration, sorry.
okay.
On the registration, like if they elapse 5, 6 months, or do we just continually just build
So
that?
if they say this goes live July 1st, and Julie, make sure you and I have the same understanding on this, since we have made it $50 a month. If we go live July 1st and they show up in December and they want to register, they're going to pay the $225 plus the $50 that accrued each month until they get registered.
And if they've never registered before, an additional $300.
Okay.
Okay, that's.
If you look at section 4-6-4, that kind of covers that. Everything else we've kind of already covered, but that's just kind of where we put the numbers, you know, sharpen the pencil there, and that's really what that is.
Yeah, and just to-
Basically, just so we know who has a cabin in Hochatown, and we don't really know that now.
And with this ordinance, to add one more thing, they don't have the legal right to operate a short-term rental in Hochatown if they did not register.
The question I had earlier was, do we know if every single cabin owner has been notified that we have started this tax? Is everyone aware, or are we just?
Well, legally they are because it's been published, etc. So,
Okay.
I
Go
mean,
above and beyond
yeah.
education.
So anything they've received from Avenue is just
And it goes,
icing on top of the cake. But from a legal perspective, all of those notices went out later.
And I know Diane's probably addressed some of these online, but I've seen some comments on people asking about Avenue and who's Avenue and why am I getting letters from Avenue. So I'm assuming some of that is.
well, so it's a really good question. So Avenue is the town administration for lodging tax. But let's take a step back, all the way to May 1st when you all considered it, passed the ordinance, published it, and I think we've all used, so long before Avenue, you've all used all your resources to let people know. So I would put to you that if there's things that are not being done, I would love to hear them. We want to reach everybody. Forget Avenue for a moment. You know, the tax, the lodging tax was put in place on May 1st. On May 1st, we know there's a good portion of people not paying today. I mean, and they can get audited, whether it's next month or a year from now, and that's a significant, hefty bill to pay. So we would encourage everybody, pass the word around, let us know how we can help. I think the town has done everything they're required to do to notify everyone. I know you all want to do everything you can, so if there's a method, I think Avenue will take it to the next level. They're directly identifying, using the shape files, using the boundaries of the town. They have scrubbed every platform, including private platforms, to get that information. But they're taking their time to verify who the real owner is through multiple means. As they identify them, they have received a letter. They have received, so as I said earlier, I think it was over 800, another set is going out tomorrow. But I'm not sure what else can be done to notify them. There's responsibility by the cabin owner to.
We can take an additional step from the town's end, and we can utilize social media to create little guides or resources for people to click on or navigate through on how to register, how to set up, and troubleshoot any issues. And also we can put some contact information out there to get people a call.
And that's what we tried to make these, registration is waived if you just get it done by July 1st. You know, it's like, we're trying to make this as easy as possible for everybody to get registered. You know, self-certified. Are you operating your cabin the way you're supposed to? Tell us that you are. It's a legal document. It gets things moving so that we can actually identify what cabins are in each town.
I would say that the town, the trustees have been very proactive in trying to get the word out more than they have to. And if there's something that's being missed, again, having you, I think, is gonna take it to another level with, you know, community meetings, meeting with, the bigger, they're gonna identify the bigger management companies and make sure they let them know. There's gonna be online things, so anything that you believe is being missed, let us know. Let's make sure, because no one wants to, you know, penalize anyone if they don't know about this, but technically they should have. It's, you know, we're almost a year into this, so a year's worth of lodging tax is significant. Everybody needs to come up to speed as quick as they can.
I have a comment along those lines of how we notify the public of these things. Yeah, we've done a good job, I think, of letting people know that this was coming. But I think this is how, I think we should approach every ordinance in a way that we allow the public ample time to see the actual ordinance we're gonna vote on with the totals, with the dollar amounts, and then have them, give them time for feedback before we actually approve any ordinance, whether it's STRs, pet ordinances. There should be a reading, a public reading is how I feel about all of these ordinances and rules, fees, and ordinances. That we as a town have a responsibility to put it out with ample time for the public, our citizens, to look at it, read it, come up with questions or any issues they may have, talk to us one-on-one, or however we decide the mechanism is to get that information from the public. And then, once we've given them ample time, then we actually vote on the ordinance. I'm not a fan of this, you know, like these dollar amounts and stuff. Not necessarily, I'm not saying this ordinance is bad. I'm not disagreeing with this particular ordinance. I just am not a fan of us getting this ordinance with these dollar amounts and stuff 3 days before the actual meeting that we're gonna vote on. And there's no, like, I haven't even necessarily read all the quote, and there's no way the public has seen this and had time to process it. Well, and to go to their trustee and speak about it. And I think that we will save ourselves a lot of headache if we can have a reading. Like, say we know what ordinance we're putting out, we put it out publicly 2 weeks prior to the meeting.
Or you post it on the website or social media.
Yes, just
so
any way.
People have time to study it.
Yes, and then I think it'll save us a lot of trouble, a lot of grief by doing this, because I know that this ordinance here, we're gonna get grief on. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not disagreeing with the dollar amounts, and I know why we came up with them. As a matter of fact, I agree with them probably in the end. But I know there's gonna be a ton of cabin owners that are gonna say, what is this? What are we doing here? And then the next question is, well, what services are you guys going to provide? Right now, we are providing very little services because we don't have money, which you got to put the horse for the cart, you know, which one comes first. I realize we got to create revenue to be able to provide those services. But we've got to be mindful as trustees to allow our constituents to see it, have time to process it, come up with questions or other information that may be helpful, like, you know, some of these definitions and everything here. I don't disagree with any of them, but there may be somebody that can add their 2 cents that, you know, oh, we left that out. We forgot that. That's something we weren't thinking about. And I guess that's my only comment on these is it would be more of all ordinances, all zoning. Anything that we do like that, I think there needs to be at least one public reading before we actually vote on it.
And so, but how do you define public? I mean,
Well,
so
that's why I think maybe not a public reading, because people aren't going to memorize what you said. I think posting it on the website,
Yeah,
social media.
No, but I mean, like whose input are you interested in getting? Because, you know, is that just the residents, or are you know, because when you say cabin owners, we have a lot of cabin owners who do not reside here, do not even reside in Oklahoma. So, you know, so I'm like, I don't really personally care.
Well,
I
do though.
No, but I mean, I live here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's
Well,
like
you have to listen
it's like
to all your stakeholders.
but I don't have any input in what Dallas does. You know, I don't have any input in what Fort Worth does because I don't.
I guess my point was that if you ran a business in Dallas that was their #1 revenue source, like lodging tax or sales taxes here, they would listen to you. Though.
Well, then that is some legal ground then, because I really don't think that someone who does not live here, who does not vote here, I don't think that they should have a say in like our laws and ordinances that govern me as a resident.
I think that a follow-up comment on that would be what I did this morning, and this is what you could possibly get from people that live in Dallas or Hot Springs or someone lives out of state to follow up on Helen, where I think that they can find some peace of mind is if they have enough time to process that, hey, this is coming about, and so this looks like this is going to be X amount of dollars for this fee. Then they can do what I did this morning, which was I called Hot Springs and talked to their one of their administrators and vetted their fees and what they charge. They charge an initial fee, and then they break down their STRs on 2-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 6-bedroom. It's a lot more expensive than what we're charging when you look at it across the board. So some of that time, possibly, I understand what Helen's saying also, but also it might give them a little bit of time to do what I did, which was just call and talk to someone at City Hall. And of course, all that information is on their website. But it did give me some clarity of saying, okay, I understand what they're doing and what we're having to pay is fair.
And the thing is, I guess, take information, because we all need to learn from each other, but I seriously think that you guys need to, pay attention to who influences the ordinances that we have to live with, and if it's, I already feel like I'm getting a lot of sway from people who don't live here. My life is already being way impacted by people who don't live here, and you just have to be careful, that your public, the information you gather, because there's so few of us that live here, that you let other people start coming in here and having a vote, that we're gonna get out, we're gonna get out.
They don't have a vote. That's not what I'm saying.
I meant, but vote, yay or nay to, whether I like this ordinance
Well,
or not.
that's our job as trustees, is to do. We're here for the benefit of the citizens, but
See,
that
you have
doesn't
to
mean we
keep
can't
that.
listen to others.
But I just said that,
Yeah.
so you have, when you open this up to, the public, who is the public that gets to sway you?
Well,
and I
no one
hope
gets to
it's the-
sway,
it's
they
the-
just get to comment, and
Yeah.
they're listened to. And I think business owners that make their living here, the business owners that provide the revenue that we're funding all this with, along with the citizens, should at least be heard, or at least be able to provide their take on it. Now, when we sit down at this table, our number one consideration is Hochatown and the citizens of Hochatown.
Thank you.
And that should go without saying. But what I'm saying is, it should be put out there with the public, and by public, I primarily mean citizens of Hochatown, but everyone to read it and have time to either talk to us as individuals, come to us, say, hey, I don't like this. If all the residents of Hochatown are like, we love it, it's great, it's a no-brainer. But that opportunity needs to be given, is all I'm saying.
I just don't want you to give power to people who don't live here, is, I guess,
I think that's different.
Summarized.
Yeah, I understand.
Let me add also that, we can certainly take no action today, but as we try to do our very best to follow the rules of governance of, having open meetings, we could not discuss this as a group until we come to our board meetings. So this was one reason to get this on the agenda, regardless of the fact that maybe we just worked on that this week. We are all working as fast as we can as volunteers to get this information out there. If you want to see progress, we're going to have to move forward. If people need more time, they may need to do their part by getting engaged a little sooner. We can have another special meeting next week if everybody wants a little more time to read and, consider. I'm good with that.
Michelle,
But
could
then
we get
people
that?
do need to come together for another meeting and don't say, I don't have time, if you want to have the progress.
Michelle, could we possibly get the ordinance as proposed posted on the website today, if I send it to you?
Yes, and we have a QR code actually that goes to the ordinances that are on the website.
Okay.
That's been published on social
Well, we
media.
might wanna do a QR code specifically for this one and post it separately so that it can be posted on social media and people can access it through the QR code, and then set a special meeting next week, because that would give you guys time to get any additional feedback over the next week. And then if you wanted to make any amendments to it as drafted, you could pass it with amendments.
And that solves any issues that I have. Like I said, I'm not opposed to the ordinance itself or any of that. It's just, I believe we need to give the citizens, the public, time to be able to review it, have some feedback, listen to them, and whether that's a week. I think it needs to be more than 2 days. I mean, kind of what's happened here. And we have done this previously, we've kind of done things, which, to being the devil's advocate here, we had to get to that point, we had to make those decisions.
And we still do.
And we still do, but I don't think we need to do it in spite of being transparent.
Mayor, trustees, I think the only really critical timeline is before the avenue system goes live.
Right.
And they need time to plug in this information
Those
to
things.
test it. So, but I would tell you, I'm a process person, right? I think what you're talking about is going to be, across the board, consistency and transparency are important. So I would tell you that this has been discussed by you all before, and the fees were discussed before, and I don't know if you've received any input back. Hopefully that's what you're talking about today, any input you received. But the process could be like some towns, and I'm not sure that's the process of Oklahoma, is you have a public hearing before that, instead of just general open discussion where people have a chance to look at it, they give you their comments, and then you review it as a trustee once you close that public hearing and vote. There's multiple ways to do it, but what I'm really trying to say is there's other ordinances that are gonna come up, and if you wanna build in a process of putting draft ordinances up, typically they're done at the agenda. When the agenda is created, the draft ordinance, if it's available, is put on there, everybody can review it, weigh in. But this is not the first time this has been discussed, just for the record, this has been discussed. This final draft is kind of fine tuning. And so we have time if you want to let it lie for a few days or a week. Okay. And you as trustees can decide when you want the system to go live. I would just caution that every day money's being used. So that's the idea.
I just want to follow up too and say that it has been discussed in the past, Mayor, but the fees have changed. So what we have now, it has been changed just within days. So yeah, I think it has been discussed generally, but at the end of the day, like you said earlier, the individuals that are going to be impacted by this are concerned about what that fee's going to be.
Yeah.
And so I think, this will give them, a week to look over it.
And you have time. You really do have time because, we can decide, the town can decide through you when that avenue system goes live. There's going to be some training, there's going to be some demos, and then, we can roll it out. But they'll need at least a few days to build in this ordinance when you finally approve into the registration process, the self-certification.
What are you estimating on Avenue? Are they giving you a?
Yeah, they say they think they're ready by this Friday.
Okay.
However, I would recommend that we don't go live this Friday, just because you and us, we need a chance to demo and make sure there's no hiccups, make sure the registration information is accurate. So I would say a goal would be maybe next Friday. And so it's, again, strictly up to you, but we have flexibility when you turn on that switch.
What I would ask from the trustees, just so that we can make sure the messaging is clear, I'm sending Michelle an email right now so that we get this posted on the website, social media. Could we possibly, I know this is a little unorthodox, pick a meeting date so that when we're posting, we can say this is the proposed ordinance that will be voted on at a meeting on such and such date? Is everybody where they can look at their calendars right now and maybe pick a date for late next week? Mid to late next
I'm
week,
good any
I'd say.
day but Wednesday.
About either Monday or Tuesday? I mean, today's Wednesday, so that's several days.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, that gives you almost a full week.
Yeah.
And we'll get it posted today, and we'll post the date and time of that meeting with the link to the ordinance. That way, if anybody knows that's the meeting to come to, that it's gonna be voted on, or to call you before then.
So Tuesday, March 12th at what time?
Do we do 9 a.m. so people can keep?
And you won't, any council needs you have before that, because we probably won't come back just for that vote, but we can obviously help with anything between now and then. So what time are we saying? Tuesday?
9 a.m.
March 12th.
We'll have to post by Friday at 9 a.m. So is this
The
document?
only item.
Okay,
It'll just be this same agenda item on there again.
and then that's the document unchanged.
I will copy you
Okay.
on this email I'm
Okay.
sending to Shell, the version you wanna make sure that is the agenda item.
And I don't know that we could do it, but I think I would feel better about it, I think if we did any law that we're going to pass, any actual ordinance fee permit that we're going to put out there, that we could at least give the public a week's notice, and by notice, I mean, put it on the website, put it on our social media page, hey, this is happening, ordinance so-and-so, so-and-so, go to our website, view the ordinance, we're gonna vote on it on this day. And that way, citizens who have an issue with it, or that can maybe get guidance and correct something that's a mistake in our ordinance, or something that we haven't thought of, and it just is a good idea to our citizens, like, you know, because we're already under fire. I mean, just
We're working as fast as we can also,
yes.
in our defense. So, I think that's outside the scope of what's on the agenda for later, so can we just leave that for this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Adam?
May I add just something real quick? Helen, I might have to get with you on, I just want to make it public that there may be some things added to that special agenda that we might need to take care of, like job descriptions, hiring, budgets, stuff like that for personnel. There might be some things added to that if we can get them taken care of. I just want to be upfront about that.
I'll have to have it by, I have to post it.
By Friday at 9 a.m. you'll have to have it posted. So I'll have
website too.
I'll have everything, like my deadline for you will be like Thursday at 5. So I'll make sure you have plenty of time beforehand. It's not gonna be last minute.
As the injured volunteer, you'll work as hard as you can.
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
Kelly, now that we have Adam, he and I will draft it all, and we'll just send it to you for clerk approval.
Okay.
That's all you need to do.
I'll
You won't
make
be
my
doing any
I'll make my
practical.
deadline Thursday at 5. So if you
Okay.
don't hear anything else by me Thursday at 5, then
Okay.
it's not gonna make it.
Okay.
I just want to say there may be some other miscellaneous stuff on there. So I just don't want to alarm anybody.
If y'all don't mind, if you have any other ideas to communicate this, for example, I keep coming back to that May 1st ordinance, that it's not being, the number of owners are not meeting the ordinance. And is there more we can do to notify them? I just hate the idea of those penalties and fees just racking up on those cabin owners, but that's the ordinance. And so I think, as far as I'm aware, you've all done a really good job promoting and talking about it, but there's something that's being missed. Let's come back, because there's gonna be an opportunity, and if this ordinance is passed, they don't meet that July 1st deadline, on top of all those fees and penalties, they will end up paying an initial registration fee of $300, and then starting a late fee of $50. So, you know, again, back to your goal of making it easy and profitable for these cabin owners to be here, you know, we wanna do all we can to make sure we're doing it.
I have a pulse of taking no action today on item 15, setting the special meeting for next week. You happy with that summary?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a motion to take no action?
I'll make a motion to take no action on item number 15.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Janet Kress is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very similar, item number 16, discussion, consideration, and possible action to adopt ordinance number 5, an ordinance of the mayor and the board of trustees of the town of Hochatown, Oklahoma, amending the code of ordinances, title 6, police and public safety, chapter 4, animals, section 6-5-1, to provide for a penalty of an amount of $500 per animal, and to provide that each day shall constitute a separate violation, providing for codification, providing for severability, and declaring an emergency. Do we have a discussion on animals?
Just a couple announcements from a legal perspective. This is an ordinance that we already have. This is just amending it to give the town the ability to issue a citation with a monetary penalty. And the proposed monetary penalty is $500 per animal. We can adjust that to $500 per violation. We can adjust the number. It's really up to you guys on what you want the citation to be. The idea was it to be significant enough to deter people from just being like, I don't care, just issue me the citation, I'm not gonna go get your permit. When all they have to do is go over here and get a permit, pay the fee, and they're good. And then Adam and I have been working today, because I know that the idea is we want to be able to enforce this as soon as possible. It's not as simple as that, because we don't have, so Adam's gonna pick up on that and can give you guys what the long term of enforceability looks like on this and anything else that would be kind of code enforcement level now that we have an employee.
All right, so I've been working on this one a little bit. Got a nice I got cussed out Saturday morning, so.
He got a really great awakening.
Yeah, let's get one bring to Hochatown. That's all right. We'll work through it. So I'm working on getting us a municipal ticket book. We need to wait on that actually until we have our court information settled, because our court information is required to be on the ticket book. So we'll kind of, and again, that's the next thing that I'm working on as well. I'm working with some local communities here. We will have to make arrangements for an interlocal agreement for court-related materials. We are also working on finding us a judge, a municipal judge, and then also we are going to need a municipal prosecutor. So those are 2 people. If anyone knows anybody nearby, and if anybody practices law, please connect with me. We need some help. So I'm working on getting those. I'm running up the chain on that.
But the issue is we can't issue a citation until we have court.
Until those are settled. I'm working on getting us e-court software. So once we do have a court clerk hired, they'll have the amenities that are necessary to file tickets within our system. Other than that, I've got a court clerk job description established as well, and this is unrelated to our court here, but I've also got us a job description established for a municipal building code and code enforcement officer who will be then enforcing municipal code through our community. It won't just be me myself. So that's our update so far, and I'll update you accordingly.
So we can, if we'd like to, we can go ahead and pass this ordinance. We just need to understand our ability to issue citations. It's gonna be played out as we get different procedures in place.
But it's nice to have the information in place.
Well, I got a little bit of a few thoughts on this ordinance that I think we need to consider. You know, I've been a dog breeder for 15 plus years, so I've been to Canton many times in my early days before I went online and started selling across the United States and abroad. So, you know, I understand the process. People are trying to make money. Majority of the people that I've met up here that are selling dogs are really good people. They're raising really great puppies. However, majority of them don't know that we have an ordinance. We don't have a billboard coming into Hochatown that says ordinance. Yeah, I mean, so.
Well, I think actually we have posted that at the puppy mill location. Yes, it's been there for a good while.
Is that like a, what is this?
The ordinance.
I mean, is it like on a?
Yeah, on a little flyer.
Okay, well, they're
So
setting up.
hand it out.
Well, I think that's one thing we could be doing while, between now and the time we have the court ticketing process, is just going out there on the weekends and saying, hey, you need to be aware of this ordinance, you're gonna need to get a permit, and do education. Which we can do an education process and say, this is gonna be starting to be enforced soon, we wanna let you know about it now, so you've got time to go get your permit. That way when we show up and we do start issuing tickets, they're not like, what the heck is this?
And I know several cities that have the same process, and my thing is, I don't wanna support anyone receiving a ticket, and being penalized $500 a puppy. They got 7, 8 puppies, and
what Adam and I
don't
talked
think
about,
that's we're in the business to do that. I think it's,
what Adam and I talked about from an enforcement perspective is to instruct our, because the idea is not to make money off of it.
right.
The idea is the penalty to be a deterrent, not for
Yes.
anybody to actually pay
Yes.
$500 an animal.
Yes.
So if we go out there and they're new, they didn't know about the permit process, and we say, hey, you gotta go get a permit, like run up to City Hall and fill out the paperwork and, you know, pay your one-time fee. If you do that, we're not gonna cite you today. But if you're back out here, we're gonna, you know now, and we're gonna cite you. So kind of have a.
Can we
you know,
issue a warning or no?
Yeah, yes.
Just
So
like
that
we'll
would
go
be.
highway patrol.
Cause the
That's what I'm
idea
gonna do
is,
for you today.
Yes.
the idea is the
Warning would
penalty,
be nice.
nobody's ever gonna actually pay it if they follow the law. We give them a warning, we don't cite them. I was telling them about the enforcement, going out there and telling them, hey, here's some grace, now go get your permit. But and I'm happy to adjust the fee to whatever you guys want. The reasoning behind the fee that was suggested was, we want it to be high enough that if somebody decides they're just gonna fly in our face about it and say, I don't care, I'm not registering, that it's enough for them to have to consider, like, I'll just go get a permit.
Well, and they also have to get permission from the landowner. It has to be signed.
We've had lots of complaints from the landowners.
And they're also on
Including
ODOT's easement also, and they don't want them there. So they've been asked to leave. There's actually squatting on people's property that they don't have permission to be there, so.
And then we also, we've got individuals now, and this goes back to potentially we could help, or Adam could help in notifying the business owners, because some of these business owners, as Adam found out this weekend, some of them are giving them permission.
Yeah. Which is
But then,
fine,
but
it's
then
not
here's the deal,
permanent.
but here's the deal, the business owners don't follow up with,
Yeah.
well, you gotta have a permit
Yeah, some
also.
business owners, they just don't know.
Yeah.
They're just like, a guy comes in and asks, hey, can I sell puppies up? Yeah, sure, no
Yes.
problem, whatever, that's okay, and they just don't know, so,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really.
So it's gonna be education of not just the people who are out there.
Yeah.
But the owners as well, the business owners, yeah, to where they can understand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the idea is for anybody to have some giant ticket. The idea is nobody ever gets a ticket because they just decided they've got the warning, they know about it, they get the permit.
yeah.
The permit process is not even complicated, it's a form, and they have, the owner signs that they're fine with it, and they turn it in and pay their fee, that's it. There's no like,
How much is the permit?
$500 for 6 months.
yeah, they don't have to get it like every weekend, it's a one-time. Was it 6 months, is that what you did?
Yeah, 6 months.
Well, kind of also the reason behind this in the first place was all the complaints that we were getting, that they were selling puppies on the side of the road in 102-degree weather.
No, it was getting bad.
And it was getting out of hand, and the traffic and the potential for wrecks and accidents, and then, you know, there's running on HBoT's property, and there's running on the bank's property, and, you know, and so we were getting massive complaints about that, and then just the liability of, you know, having accidents and stuff, slowing down traffic that's already, you know.
And I think as we move forward, you know, looking forward, that might be something we have a conversation with Julie on is, you know, we may get to a point where there's a zone where something along the lines of you know, we don't want a camping up here, but at the same time, we may get to a point to where we have a zone to where individuals can potentially sell, you know, in that type of, you know, setting.
Temporary vendor places are
Bendigo's
already.
parking lot.
Yes.
Are already.
What's that?
Bendigo's parking lot.
Not unless they're not breeding and then maybe partially not breeding. They gotta be really
There you
nice.
go, there you go.
The only issue I have with it is the penalty. And I'm just looking at this as we're not all gonna be trustees here forever. We're gonna have new people in government. And that penalty is so steep that if, say there is somebody that don't like somebody, they got an agenda against someone. I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about in the future, down the road. That penalty is so steep that you could really cause damage to someone if you say you wanted to enforce this and you got a guy who thinks he's compliant, maybe he's not, he's got 20 puppies out here. Here comes somebody, I'm telling you you're not compliant. Well, I am compliant, there's an argument. And whoever is in the position of power decides they are not compliant, and I'm about to write you $2,500 tickets.
But just the fact that receiving a ticket doesn't mean that you're guilty.
That's right.
You're innocent until, you're presumed innocent until you're proved guilty, and they would have to go to court, and a judge or a jury be the one to decide if they're guilty, and then the judge or jury to say how much they have to pay in a fine. So it would not be a town employee or someone out there with the ticket book making that ultimate decision.
I mean,
What if that ordinance is, what if it's in the ordinance though? Cause that ordinance
So the
dictates
ordinance
maximum.
doesn't issue a ticket.
maximum.
Yeah, it's just like when you get a speeding ticket, there's a minimum and a maximum fine. If you go fight it, you may be found not guilty, you may be found guilty, and then the judge is gonna tell you how much you have to pay. The officer that wrote the ticket is not the one deciding whether you're innocent or guilty or what you have to pay.
I guess what I'm saying is I think we can achieve the same goal of what we're trying to achieve here, and it's something that isn't such a grand
monetary.
It is such a.
Well,
I think
just
if we
change it to 500 per violation.
per even 1,000, like make it more than the permit. You know that way they're
Our
it's the
people
same.
typically have multiple animals out there.
Yeah.
So if we did like 1,000 per violation,
I would
and
be
we
fine.
didn't do it per animal.
Yeah.
I would be fine with that.
And also making sure that we're giving these individuals warning, because like the guy.
We have been, Jed.
Well, I
and
understand.
we'll
I have been
continue
out there
to
too.
even until we have a court. I mean, it's going to be education over the next 7
Well, like I was
months.
gonna say, Adam's individual that he ran into had been up here before and had been told. So, when those type of individuals are breaking the law, so to speak, then yeah, I think the penalty.
Well, and I think we can be real specific about our messaging between now and the time we get the court system set up, to say, look, this ordinance is in place, we're not enforcing it yet, we're giving you time to go get your
Yes.
permit. We're here today to tell you, here's a copy of the ordinance, well, what we've got on the website, you can direct them to the website, I think I texted that to you one time. On the website, it's got the application, the permit application, and a copy of the ordinance, all in one packet. So if we want, whoever wants to do this, can go out when they see somebody and hand it to them and say, we're not enforcing this yet, we wanna give it to you now, so you have time to get the permit. You know,
We do that every
apply for
Saturday.
your permit. And then that way they know they're not in trouble today, but they are gonna be in the future,
Todd,
is what I would propose.
one of the reasons that this number was the number that it was, when they're selling puppies for $1,500 each, what we get is the attitude of, I'll just pay the fine. We wanted to make it up to this amount, that it directs them to come back to town hall for.
I agree, and I think that's a good policy. I just think we can get there. I think $1,000 per violation gets us there. If we just say,
If they wanna come back and get another one, I mean.
if you wanna come back tomorrow, we'll charge you another $1,000. I think that gets us there.
One
And-
additional consideration about the 1,000 that I should have said a second ago, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If the fee's over 500, we have a right to a jury trial, so we might not want it to be
So
specific.
that was the reason it was
I
$500.
see. To me, that's an excessive penalty that could get just somebody who was not trying to break the law, someone who just down the road. I don't mean right now, because we're all here now. We're all common sense people. We're going to do like we're talking about. We're going to give them a chance. Go get your permit. But who's to say 10 years down the road, we got a whole new city council, we got a whole new city manager. Everything's different. And we've done put this in place to where it could be weaponized, basically, if someone decided to.
It can always be changed.
Well, see, that's what I was gonna
All
suggest.
just a starting point.
If we wanna do 500 either per animal or per violation, whatever you guys decide, we can reevaluate this after we start enforcing it to see, are we even having to charge anybody the penalty?
Right.
And if we are, and it's excessive, then maybe we need to go back and revisit, we need to change it. But I think maybe we do the lesser of the two, just to see how things go, with the idea that we can come back and amend the ordinance at any time.
You know, I'd like to have a couple of days where I could make some phone calls and you know, you call other cities that are in similar positions that we are, you can find out a lot of clarity and information, just like when I called Hot Springs this morning.
A
When
lot
you
of
find
this
out
is
a lot
pulled
of
from
information.
some other towns.
Just what?
A lot of this is pulled from some other towns. What a
Oh,
lot
okay.
of other towns do,
Okay.
and a lot of them don't have the penalty like we have. The
paid
reason,
we paid a lot of money for lawyers and legal people to look at this stuff, or look and draw from other areas.
the reason we have we're going back and amending it to add the fee is because we don't have a pound. We don't have an impound for the dogs. A lot of towns enforce this by showing up and impounding the animals and then charging you for the cost of impounding the animals,
Okay.
which is already available in here if and when we decide we either want to do a interlocal agreement with another town to use their facility, or we have our own animal shelter. But that's how a lot of other towns enforce it. We went back at the request of a couple of the trustees and proposed the citation because we don't really have the ability to go pick up the animals right now. And I don't know that we want to do that.
The current ordinance that we already have in place, does it have a penalty?
That's what this is
That's
for.
what this is.
But it
No.
doesn't have a penalty.
Right, that's
The
what
Okay.
penalty before was we'll come impound your animals and you
Okay.
have to pay the cost of it, which doesn't really have any teeth for us because we don't have that infrastructure. Nor do I think we really want to impound the animals.
Well, I mean, I think we need it. If it was up me personally, I think we should amend it to $500 per violation. But again, I know you wanted to have some bite too. So anyway, I'm in support of it, other than just the amount of the penalty.
Yeah, because I will say that like this past weekend when I stopped a guy, he was selling puppies for $2,000 a piece. And that's, you know, I mean, that's professional breeders, level of price. And so, did he have registration papers? I don't know. But I do know that, I mean, they were nice puppies, but I do know that that's happening. Like Diane said, you do have some individuals up there selling for premium pricing because it's Hochatown. And so,
You know where the money's at.
And that's why the $500 per animal, I mean, we talked about this for a long time.
yeah.
And when we were saying 1,500 and 2,000 per dog, then the 500 per incident is not gonna be a deterrent. And what we want is the deterrent to please come get your
Just come get
permit.
your permit, it's so easy. Just go
Please
ahead.
come get the permit.
My biggest thing is just being able to know, because if we have someone that's been warned, and then let's just say they've been warned, and let's just say 4 weeks later, they show back up. And how do we know that that's Bob so-and-so who came 3.5 weeks ago and got an actual ticketed warning?
It'll be logged in our file
Right.
if we purchase
Just like, what's
a
her name?
municipal
That,
warning.
we can have that,
booklet.
then that would be fantastic, and then as
Yeah.
far as a fee charge, I mean, I'm okay with that, I just want them to have due diligence, being warned,
Yeah.
and, you know, that way we're not springing it on them, because I think for a good while, we're gonna have these individuals that are gonna show up and set up. And it's thinned out some, but some of them are being strategic, and they're starting to swap places.
Yeah. But let me ask you this, you keep talking about warnings, why aren't we giving warning tickets, you know?
Well,
If you
because
go-
they might not have known about it if they're not from here.
If
Absolutely.
you go out here on the highway and you speed, you get pulled over by the cops, are you gonna get a warning ticket, or you gonna get a ticket and go
Well,
to court and buy it?
the signs posted, I think that's the difference.
These
Yes.
ordinances are posted out there, it's not posted every 10 foot
Yeah.
going up down the highway.
No, you
But
don't
it's out
have
there
a
on
legal
public business.
obligation.
We
to
have
do
it out there, it's
Yeah.
there.
I think it's more of a PR,
Oh, I agree right now until we
Yeah.
get it set in place.
yeah.
Like I said, right now, we can't enforce anything, we've tried, you know. People have left because I was polite to them and asked them to leave, and they have left. We just had that one that wouldn't.
Then you won't be the last.
We won't be the
And
last.
that's why we need
But
ordinances.
once it's set in
and
place and there, then we need to write the ticket, and that's the reason I think a 500 per puppy is just fine. They're selling $2,000 puppies. We need to put a slap on, if they got 20 puppies out there, we need to slap on a $10,000 fine.
Some of them are selling $2,000. There's
Yes,
always
some
going to be
of
people that
There's
take
some-
exception. There's going to be people that slip through the cracks. But I think our purpose as trustees is to protect the person who's out there selling them for $200 a piece.
Yeah.
We don't
Yes.
want to put something in place that's going to cause harm to a mother. This is who we got to think about. The mom or whoever is selling their puppies for $200, $50. All they gotta do is go get a permit. That's why we give the warning. And there are going to be the rats who take advantage of those loopholes, those things that come in here. There are going to be people that show up and sell their dogs for $2,000 a piece. And we deal with that as those happen. But what we have to remind ourselves of is we don't want to put something on the books that will cause serious damage to someone. We don't, and like you said, you talk about speeding. Well, what if all of a sudden they come out with a rule that said, okay, there's people driving $100,000 cars on here. If you're 5 miles over, we need to raise the speed limit to $1,000. I mean, the fine of $1,000. Which, if you're driving a $100,000 car, it may not be that big a deal. But if you're driving a $30,000, well, what I'm trying to get at is whatever we put down and whatever we enact as a town, it's for the protection of the town and your average citizen. And there are people that's going to take advantage of those through everything we do. There's always going to be someone, so we can't dictate our policy just to catch the guy who's out here taking advantage of it. I mean, we have the policy in place, we initiate it, we write him the ticket. I promise you, if he's paying $500 for every dollar a day he's out there,
Yes.
he's going to go somewhere else.
That's
He's
right.
going to go south
That's
and
right.
get out of city limits and start selling his dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, so I just think we need to keep that in mind anytime we're enacting and putting these fees in place, that what happens when your regular person gets hit with it? Just your average consumer, your average person.
So can we table this and come back to it?
You could put it on a special meeting next week too, or if you wanted to make the amendment of it being 500 per violation, you could vote to approve it as amended with that change in the language. You could do either.
Yeah, I'm confident that if we do the 500 like Todd's saying, I think, you know, personally, I believe that that's gonna be a deterrent for these individuals. No one's gonna wanna come back and say, well, I'm gonna go back to Hochatown and sell, 4 puppies and I'll pay the 500, it'll be fine. I got a feeling that they're gonna not wanna come back if they have to pay it one time, regardless of what they're charging. and that's coming from I've been breeding for 15 plus years. That's how I feel. Now, can that be amended later? Absolutely, we can always amend it
If it's
later.
not, if it doesn't deter it, we'll come back and put more teeth
But
on
we
it.
can take we can take a week off and come back to it.
I mean, I don't mind voting on this now with the amendment, and if we go through this summer and we still got people camping out and selling dogs and it's not deterring it like we hope, we have a special meeting, we raise it. You know, and
Exactly.
I mean, I'm all for that, but I believe that we can deter it and get rid of it without putting a fine in that could catch the average person and put them in a bind.
No, I agree.
I'd like to add one thing, Todd, to that. It's just like, when the highway patrol or game warden or whatever, they stop somebody and they see 3 baby seats in the back of their 15-year-old car, they're probably going to use some judgment of saying, well, here's what I'm gonna do for you today. I'm gonna give you a warning and let you go. But there still needs to be the penalty in here. And if that's what's gonna make you happy is to make the violation as a per violation, it gets it on the book so that we can move forward.
That's fine with me.
So, do we have a,
So the motion needs to specifically say that the enforcement impoundment citation provision will be amended to 500 per violation instead of 500 per animal. So when you
Yes.
make the motion, that needs to be in.
And if we wanna go 900 per violation,
We need
stay
to keep
under
it
the
under
church.
5.
Oh,
Five.
5, okay, I got you, okay.
Yeah, I don't wanna have a jury trial for every animal citation.
Sober
That's a TV reality show.
Yeah, it would be.
Revenue source.
You might have a point
and
there.
I'm gonna add one more thing, I think this has always been, Hochatown wants to be a fun place, and our job is not to be giving out tickets to anybody for anything. But we still gotta have it on the books now, so that we can, so.
We don't
Can
want
we
to be
close the
Colgate,
discussion
Oklahoma,
and-
no offense to Colgate, but we don't want to be Colgate.
No.
People avoid Colgate because they know you'll get a ticket for something if you go through Colgate. So that's,
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we close the discussion on item 16, and do we have a motion to accept item 16, line 3, a penalty in the amount of $500 per violation?
yeah,
Okay,
motion.
alright,
I'll second it.
motion by Todd, second by Chad, roll call vote please, Cory.
Okay. Janet Chris is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Helen, I will get the corrected amended execution copy to you
Okay.
and then him for execution, and then we'll get that published, and do all the things we need to do.
All right, thank you.
Item number 17, discussion, consideration, and possible action to adopt the emergency clause of ordinance number 5. Hochatown, an ordinance of the mayor and the board of trustees of the town of Hochatown, Oklahoma, amending the code of ordinances, Title 6, Police and Public Safety, Chapter 4, Animal, Section 6-5-1, to provide for a penalty in the amount of $500 per violation, and to provide that each day shall constitute a separate violation, providing for codification, providing for severability, and declaring an motion.
That's just the emergency clause that lets me publish it the way I need to and get it posted and all of that. Yes.
I think we covered it on 16, but any more discussion on 17? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve it as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve number 17 as amended.
Okay, Todd,
I'll second it.
Chad, roll call vote please.
Janet Chris is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Discussion regarding maintenance of Camp Ranch Road, which is a county road for the people who do not know that. Give Todd just a minute.
I'm just getting some numbers here. Okay, it's been brought to my attention by the folks off of Camp Ranch, which we know a bunch, that has a lot of STRs in it. And that's where we get our revenue as a town. And they are wanting to know if we would be willing as a town to help with dust control on that road. There's a chemical, I guess, that they put on it. According to them, they did it last year. It worked really well through the summer. We're starting to approach the dry season. We all know what it ends up looking like. These roads, the right-of-ways turn white from the dust, you know, and everything. It is a negative, spur on tourism when they come in. So camper, that being said, the total is $7,038 to do Camp Ranch Road.
To do this seal or
The-
material.
the-
As
yeah.
long as it lasts.
It-
Is that
Yeah,
the tree,
Yeah.
the tree sap applicator?
Maybe
it's,
twice in
yeah,
the
I think, I
summer.
believe so. something like that.
Kind of depends on the rain and everything.
Yeah, and usage, but the last time they did it was last year, and it worked fine for the whole summer. It did well. There, and like all things with the county has said they will not pay for it. Now, there's talks with the owners over there, the people that own property up and down there, they are willing to put in, but they're asking us as a town if we'd be willing to share in some of the costs. And I'm not expecting any action or nothing like that today, but I just wanted to get it on the table. Now, I do know that it's a county road, so that,
We'll have to do a mutual aid agreement, we can work on that, so if you guys decide you wanna move forward on this before you have the meeting to vote on it, we'll need to draft up some legal documents and get approved by the county.
so that would, yeah, this is
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
today.
so that would be something we would need to think about, and then, that being said, Camp Ranch is not the only road that could use this treatment. So I think if we decide this is something we wanna get into and we can do this, we identify other roads that have a lot of STRs, and we try to maybe, and it's also just a way of, that's a service we can provide. But if this is something that we all agree that we can legally do and we wanna do, you know, that's generally the cost. It's probably gonna cost us about, well, if we do half and we can get the owners to cover half, you know, $3,500 per road. So that's really, I just wanted to put that on the table, let everybody think about it, and then, you know, we can have talks over the next few weeks and decide if that's something that we wanna do, or even if we can do it.
Does that price come with, maybe one run a grader over it, or are we dressing, are there any ruts currently or washboarding occurring on that line?
Actually, yeah.
So does that price?
No, that's
cover
just
that?
the chemical.
So just the applicator
Yeah.
on top?
Yep.
Okay, what's, I'd like to explore what the pricing would be to fix it, or see if they would be willing to fix it, if we pay for any sort of a share in this application.
That discussion come back and waited as many a time.
So if we pay for the icing on top, would they come in and fix the rust for us?
Maybe.
Or run drainage?
Maybe.
Let me
Let's just-
add this to the
let's talk to
discussion. You know, we've been working with Garver fairly, I mean, they've been putting in a lot of work. They're almost ready. I was hoping to have it by today, but we don't. But by next week, we're gonna have some answers from them. They have driven every single road in Hochatown, whether it's a county road or a so-called private road, and have graded those as, what condition are they in, A, B, C, D, some estimates of what it costs per grade. You know, if it's a grade F road, it clearly costs more to work on that road. They're getting really close to giving us some numbers. I like that we're at discussion only for this, because it's not just camp roads. They've identified exactly how many miles are county roads, how many are the private roads, and we can put some formulas to that, so we can maybe do them all at once, instead of just dealing with Camp Ranch.
And my point that there's a ton of roads that they could use this.
Right, that's what I
That
said.
residents live on also,
Yes.
that they would probably appreciate help with the roads, like mine.
And that's really, that's all I got on camper.
That's what I said. I think if we can just hold off discussions for another week, I don't think that we wanna wait another month, but, I think next week we'll have a lot more answers on the condition of the roads and everything. Anything else? I just
Keep me
remember
posted on that way we can prepare you all if you need to.
discussion, consideration, and possible action to appoint 3 volunteer committee members to serve on the roads committee, which is sort of where we were. We just had 2 trustees working on it without a lot of input from other people. It's like, okay, let's get the input that everybody's asking to give. And so I would like to put before you that will need to be voted on separately. We did put it out there asking people to volunteer for the roads committee. I've solicited people to be on the roads committee, because back if people wanna have a voice, then they have some help, you know, making those opportunities available. Mark, Ray is a cabin owner who, is very interested in this topic. Karen Wheeler, who is a resident, she's a cabin operator, she has guests, she has owners, so I tried to look for people that would give us a well-rounded sense of, you know, our residents being represented, or the cabin owners being represented. So if you will turn to your tab, on the roads committee candidates, can we consider a roll call vote until we reach 3?
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, we have 4 volunteers, is there a reason why we're limited it to 3?
We're limiting it, well, because 2 of them work for the same company, and I felt like 3 gets the job done.
Okay.
That was how many we asked for. So I felt like we should stick with what we asked for and not change the horse in the middle of the string.
Well, of these, Karen is the only one I know, so me either.
Well, I've talked to all of them, and these are the only ones that asked to participate.
Which 2 work for the same the business owners, that's the.
Kyle and Connor.
What do they do? They work for?
They do the safari park.
Okay.
And they both have the same, you know, they are developers that do roads. So they understand roads, but I felt like we only needed 1 person from the same company.
Right. Well, then if that's the case, then the Karen, Mark, and then
Kyle.
Yeah.
That's the order that I've given them to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think we vote on each one
Yeah,
separately,
that's just, we have to do it individually. So, can we call for a roll call vote for Mike Rob or Ray to be appointed to the road committee?
So Liz, does there need to be a motion for that? So do we make a motion to?
For each one.
To approve for each one?
So do we have a motion to vote on Mark Ray to be on the road committee?
I'll make a motion to add Mark Ray to the roads committee.
I'm second.
Do we have a second? Okay, roll call vote for Mark.
Okay, Janet Chris is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Simon Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, he's approved.
Do we have a motion to nominate Karen Wheeler as a resident to the road committee?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to nominate Karen Wheeler to the road committee.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote?
Okay, Janet Chris is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Blaine Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, she's approved. Do we have a motion to nominate Kyle Huggins to the road committee? Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to add Kyle Hutchins to the road committee.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Do we have a roll call vote, please?
Janet Chris is absent. Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Blaine Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, he's approved.
Todd, I will get you all of that information
Okay.
so that you can let them know when you guys have meetings.
Okay.
Discussion, consideration, possible action regarding the welcome to Hochatown sign. You want me to take that? You gonna take that?
Did you ever go out finding bids, what it's gonna cost us to take it down?
I have not. I did find a gentleman that could do it, but he's yet to go down and look at it. But yes, it's something that I've looked into. But yeah, I can look into it further. Have you?
I haven't.
Have we heard anything more from the county or Broken Bow?
Well, Broken Bow wants us to take responsibility for the sign, but it's huge and rocked, and none of the rock can be saved. Obviously, the electricity that went to it can't be saved. The only thing that can be saved are the 4 metal panels of the sign itself. Is it worth $4,000, which is the only bid that I've had, to take the sign if we don't have a place to put it, and what would it cost us to put it back up? Can they just, my recommendation would be for Broken Bow to just abandon the sign to the owner and let the owner take the panels out and bulldoze rocks down.
That's what I was saying.
But, I don't think it, I think we have residents that would like the road repaired before we pay thousands of dollars to build a sign and we don't know.
Just to go fair.
We have no input as to what that logo would look like. Nobody
say, you know, from metal
You know,
panels that have
If
the
the property
same
owner
sign
wants
on
to
it.
give us the panels, that would be great.
Maybe
$4 grand.
Philippines,
Philippines.
Ames, not Mandy Market.
With the machine, and then we'd have to haul it off and figure out what to do with it.
You know, sometimes just
We
because
could go
someone gets you
remove
a
the
car
metal
doesn't mean it's
panels,
worth
yeah,
it.
but that's it,
Yeah.
because they want us to get rid of the entire thing.
Yeah.
Which it has electric service to it, so you would have to kill that.
Mhm.
You'd have to dig the footer up, probably remove it, haul in fill, replace the hole where the footer was. I mean, it probably is up to the landowner's discretion how much work we do.
You wanted it flattened,
That could cost $10 grand.
Yeah.
That tear it down.
right? I just,
I'm with you, Dan. I think the city of Broken Bow needs to just give it up to the landowner and then they decide what they want to do with it. And
that's my
Well, and I
recommendation.
think we don't even tell them what to do with it, I think we just tell them we don't want it.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you for the offer that we're gonna pass.
So would we like to go ahead and take action?
If that's the action we're gonna take, yeah.
All right. Okay, so we have a motion on the table, to decline the offer of the free welcome to Hochatown sign.
You just make the
I
motion?
make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Todd. Okay, are we ready? Any more discussion?
I
Okay.
mean, I
are we-
suppose the only thing we could do, sorry, we're over here chit-chatting about it, is offer to buy just the metal part, if we want the metal part.
That was not an option made available to us.
The only thing we could do potentially is talk to the business owner.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is like,
Yeah.
maybe we can talk it over with them and see what we can salvage with it.
Because,
It's a
you
pretty
know,
sign, like,
I don't know about everyone here, but I mean, it's a beautiful sign.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's been.
But it's coming down either way.
Yeah, but it's
The
gotta
only
come
thing that
down
survives is the
if
metal,
he
period.
may be willing to say, hey, just take the metal and I'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, maybe we can like go halves on it or something, or we can come out, take care of it ourselves while we
Yes.
can, and then leave the rest for,
Maybe
maybe he can,
just visit with
the
him.
business owner can put their own sign up in that same location. And,
They don't want to sign in
They're
applications.
gonna have.
They just want it all.
Product.
Yeah.
Okay,
Private
sorry,
property.
I'm kinda new to this
No,
one.
you're
I'm
good.
new to this
All
one.
good, yes.
But I really wanted to kinda keep whatever we can on that side.
And I know the landowner, I'm sure
Yeah, we can work with Phil.
we can go talk to him. and get some-
Okay, yeah, let's do that sometime.
Okay.
We have a motion.
Okay, yeah, we have a motion on the table, so any more discussion? We decide on it. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, are we ready for a roll call vote? To decline the welcome to Hochatown sign, okay? Janet Prince,
Is absent, Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
How is that gonna be communicated back?
I'll
to-
call Vicky,
Okay.
you know, and I'll call Philip and talk to him. Okay, item number 21, update on the solar eclipse for town, county, and state planning and resources.
We have had 2 minutes.
That's where I thought I was gonna be.
Anything further you would like to add?
We do have a couple more updates. Shelley, did you have anything else to add?
So hopefully I got it all in 2 minutes under the public comment section. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Just one more thing. Janet had procured the gift of 1,000 Eclipse glasses. Residents of Hochatown may get those for free at the Hochatown Library. Bring your ID. And Janet would also like you guys to consider giving a donation of some of them to the Hochatown Volunteer Fire Department, and maybe also some other of the emergency services people if we have extras left over.
Most definitely.
A few other updates. The state park has ordered 80 porta potties to go throughout the park and on 259A to help. They're actually already in place. They're not usable. The contract doesn't start until about that 5 days of the eclipse. But they're already in place because what we don't want are the traffic jams to where vendors cannot get here to do the service because we're already jammed up. So Janet has we've already approved that. It just, if you remember from the last meeting, we've already approved some to go up and down Hochatown. So State Park has 80 more coming. Highway Patrol is coming. Department of Public Safety has been working. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol has been working. Cody McDaniel has done an amazing job for our county as our emergency director. He's got a communication team and an action plan. They'll be set up at the sheriff's office on the bypass. He's appointed Doug. You good? Okay. Doug will be working directly with Cody to talk to Hochatown. That's where we're working on getting at least one phone. We may not be able to depend on Facebook to communicate what the situation is, but our message is owners come get your, glasses. And if we have extra, we can disperse those to others. The Lookout Kitchen has ordered like 10,000 pairs of glasses. So I think we're gonna be able to start working on that. We probably have to get through spring break first, and then we can start addressing the eclipse.
Yes.
Doug, did you have a comment?
Cody and the RCC has requested 25 radios for Hochatown specific, one for Diane and the administrator, and the remainder hopefully to go to people on the CERT team. So we'll see how many we get. We'll go from there.
One of the good things about our 2 CERT teams that we put in place last year, which we did win the state award for, innovation of what do you do when you don't have a police department? You create the CERT team. The amazing thing is, you know, we do have 25 to 35 people that live all over Hochatown that we can call those people if we have radio access to them to say, hey, we've got a sick person here that needs water, we've got a diabetic that needs food and they're stuck on the highway. We can send a CERT team person out there to help. But we got to be able to communicate with them. So they have asked for emergency radios to be dispersed up and down Hochatown with that. That's the only update that we have right now. As it gets closer, we'll have more. Any item number 22, any new business, any matter not known of which could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the time of the posting of the agenda. Any last minute hot news for anybody? Okay, hearing none. Item number 23, do we have discussion, consideration, and possible action to adjourn? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
We need to sign everything before we adjourn, or do we do it after?
After, yeah. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Roll call vote?
Janet Chris is absent. Howard Packard.
Yes.
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Your motion carries and the meeting's adjourned at 2:00.